An unconstitutional witch hunt. That's what Donald Trump's defense team is calling the impeachment trial of the former president.
The suggestion is patently absurd.
Nadia Romero is live in Washington, D.C. with the still breaking developments.
Well, Trump's defense team wrapped up their arguments in less than 3 minutes. And one of their key points was to say that robust speech was protected by the First Amendment and that Democrats and Republicans have been guilty of doing it, but they say it is not an impeachable offense.
It is constitutional cancel culture.
Former President Donald Trump's defense team coming out swinging.
It has become very clear that the House Democrats hate Donald Trump.
Arguing the Constitution is on Trump's side.
The article of impeachment now before the Senate is an unjust and blatantly unconstitutional act of political vengeance.
Lawyers say the then president's speech was protected under the First Amendment. Still, they say he promoted peace before the violence at the Capitol.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
The defense team accusing impeachment managers of using misleading video in order to argue Trump incited violence.
Words matter, they told you. But they selectively edited the president's words over and over again.
The defense also accuses Democrats of advocating for violence against Trump.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Trump's team confident they have the votes to acquit the former president, only taking a few hours to present their case. Despite the expected outcome, Democrats say the damage to Donald Trump is already done.
I think the power of their case will be a lasting testament that will do damage to President Trump, perhaps has done already significant damage to President Trump.
All right, let's take a live look now at the Senate floor. So we are in the middle of a questioning phase where senators on both sides of the aisle get to ask questions, and this could last up to 4 hours. We're being told, though, that they will take a dinner break at some time, but they have 4 hours total for this questioning phase. We're also being told by Senate Democrats that the vote on the impeachment itself could take place tomorrow. Live from Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
And we'll have more on the impeachment proceedings on air and online. Now let's get you those latest coronavirus numbers. The State Health Department is reporting 70 new cases and 1 new fatality. We'll have the breakdown by island for you on your HNN digital platforms. Meanwhile, Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi says Governor Ige approved his request to keep Oahu in Tier 2 for another 30 days through March 15th unless movement to another tier is required earlier. That means restrictions will stay the same, such as groups of 5 or less at restaurants, gyms and fitness facilities operating at 25%, and bars and clubs will remain closed. Now here's Mayor Blangiardi at a press conference earlier today.
I don't want to create something that we might not be able to deliver. Our plan right now would be the week after this coming week to talk with the governor. Now, I'm very encouraged that 5 days into it, 5 days in a row right now, we're averaging less than 50 cases per day on Oahu and a positivity rate well below 2.5. So something could even happen prior. But out of a courtesy to the governor and an understanding of the concerns over the Super Bowl surge, and quite honestly, even this coming weekend with Valentine's Day, we wanted to give it some time. So if our anticipation is to meet with him the last couple of days of this month, asking for some relaxations, realistically, we think the 30-day time period is probably what's going to work. And, so much of what we're doing right now is about managing expectations, and I don't want to mislead the public in any way, shape, or form.
The mayor says we need to be aware of the potential surge in COVID cases following Super Bowl weekend. We're gathering reaction from businesses and we'll bring you those on your evening newscast starting with First at 4. And Honolulu police are asking for the public's help in locating Kaitana Ankog. She was last seen on Sunday, January 31st, when she was dropped off to her father, Travis Rodriguez, at his Aiea home. Both Travis and Kaitana have not been seen or heard from since. If you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 955-8300.
And I want to take you outside North Shore to Pipeline, where there's a developing weather situation. Massive swell rolling in anytime now over the weekend. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with that update.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? We've got a serious situation developing for North and West Shores. It's small right now, but the swell will be rising through the day. 12 to 16 by this afternoon, even bigger by tomorrow. Huge waves, and that's why that high surf warning is posted. 35 feet on the North Shore, 26 feet on the west side, and that's life-threatening. Now, we've got really nice weather through the weekend, although this approaching front will shift the winds. By tomorrow, we're expecting Kona winds, and that could bring up some of the fog from the Big Island across the state. So if you have breathing challenges, take precautions, because it looks like the fog could be hanging around through the early part of next week. Now, the cold front itself likely to bring more rain starting on Tuesday. Looks especially wet Wednesday and Thursday. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
The pandemic has not only effectively shut down much of the state's live events industry, it has raised serious questions about how it might emerge and what will be left when it does.
This industry is really important.
The Hawaii Events Coalition, which is a collaboration of our state's top live events industry professionals, just held an event at the convention center this morning to update each other on the status of the industry. Here's some more of what was said.
Here we go. Our immediate goals. Our immediate goals, number one, by working with government, begin opening up the live events industry incrementally throughout the state of Hawaii by March the 31st. Sure, you can say there are things already happening, but we don't want to have to go to government every time there's an event and ask for their permission. So let's incrementally get this going without that process needing to take place each time.
Hawaii's new cluster report identifies 13 outbreaks in the past 2 weeks. On the Big Island, 19 cases were linked to a food supplier. Maui County had more than 100 cases at 2 apartment complexes, along with clusters in tourism and construction settings and 2 restaurants. Oahu also had a restaurant cluster linked to 23 cases. The Public Safety Department says Maui's jail is the only state correctional facility with active COVID cases right now, but the system has faced about 2,000 cases since the pandemic began. 8 inmates died from COVID, most of them from Halava. Rick Daysog spoke to their loved ones.
5 Halava inmates died last month. All were doing time for serious crimes, but their families say COVID shouldn't have been part of their punishment.
Knowing the situation is like you're automatically giving them a death sentence. You know, I mean, really, if you really want to look at it that way.
Charla Manuel says her brother Bobby was supposed to complete his prison sentence next week and was looking forward to coming home after spending more than 2 decades behind bars.
His daughter was building a tiny home for him on the property in Makawao, in Maui. You know, he was excited to get out. He was excited to meet his grandchildren.
Charla says Bobby was in Palimomi for 3 weeks before the family was informed. He died 10 days later at age 57.
My brother's death could have been prevented.
They never try to move the inmates around or anything or whatnot. It was like they just left them there. You know what I mean?
Roland Quijano Jr.'s father, Roland Sr., was in prison for murder and was supposed to get out next year. COVID killed him last month.
This is a few of many more of the inmates that going probably end up be dying too.
Reform advocates have been warning the state since the beginning of the pandemic to take better precautions to prevent the spread of the virus in the prison system. Attorney Eric Seitz is suing the prisons for not taking enough preventative actions.
They did not remove people who were sick until they had confirmation that they actually had the disease. And by that time, it was too late. They'd already spread the symptoms to other people.
The Department of Public Safety said medical privacy laws prevent officials from commenting, but added that the department, quote, has gone to great lengths to make sure that a comprehensive plan is in place to safeguard the health of all inmates and staff. It says it disinfects the facilities and it continues to monitor for symptoms and makes health checks twice a day.
The inmates there are afraid. Families of the inmates are afraid. And we're not getting answers.
Rick Daysog, Hawaii News Now.
Now here's an update so many people have been waiting for. The State Labor Department says it has finally got its system ready to start processing 68,000 claims for extended unemployment benefits. The PEUC benefits are good for another 11 weeks of payments, including the $300 weekly federal bonus. Starting Tuesday, the agency hopes to process between 5 and 10,000 claims a day. President Biden is meeting with a bipartisan group of mayors and governors from across the country today. This comes as the CDC releases those long-awaited guidelines for reopening schools. Naomi Ruckham reports.
President Biden met with a bipartisan group of governors and mayors Friday to discuss the coronavirus pandemic.
And what I really want to know about is what should the recovery plan, should we have more or less of anything in it? What do they think they need most? How to proceed?
Participants say the president seemed to understand their concerns.
And we had a long discussion that I raised about equity and the distribution of vaccines.
On Thursday, the president announced his administration secured an additional 200 million doses of the vaccine.
That means we're now on track to have enough supply for 300 million Americans by the end of July.
The CDC has unveiled long-awaited guidelines for reopening K-12 schools. The color-coded system is based on the rate of coronavirus transmission in each community. Blue zones have low transmission and are open for full in-person learning. Yellow is moderate transmission, but those schools can also stay open. Orange means substantial transmission, and schools should switch to hybrid learning and reduce attendance. And red means middle and high schools should switch to virtual learning if there's no regular testing. If testing is done, all schools should use a hybrid model. But the CDC guidance does not include the rate of community spread that determines who qualifies for each zone. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The IRS started accepting tax returns today. It may seem early, but it's actually later than usual. The IRS had to delay things this year because it dedicated resources to the second round of economic relief payments late last year. The deadline to file is the same as always, April 15th. You can get a 6-month extension if you ask before then, but if you owe taxes, they are due in April no matter what. The White House is looking into the chip shortage. Howard Dykes has your business news.
Detroit says it makes sense to prioritize auto production because so many jobs are affected. GM has extended some assembly line shutdowns into March now. Unclear what Biden can do, though, to divert chips from other kinds of products. India's fast-growing hotelier, Oyo, is cutting staff and curbing expansion as COVID kills its business. Oyo is actually the world's second largest hotel chain. Disney posts a tiny $17 million quarterly profit despite theme parks' COVID bit. Its streaming service added 21 million subscribers in the quarter. When a pharmacy chain has extra vaccine doses, who gets them? CVS and Walmart both admit giving them to employees. Customer-facing staff are at greater risk than many of us are. Business travel as we knew it is not coming back, says Airbnb after polling hundreds of its customers. 48% said they missed travel to visit loved ones, but only 6% missed business travel, and more than a third who do travel for business plan to do less of it when the pandemic is over. United announces it will fly Orange County to Honolulu starting May 6. Tickets go on sale tomorrow.
So did you get an unexpected alert about coronavirus on your phone? You're not alone. The state announced that its Aloha Safe Alert app now has a notification setting available for many iPhones. If you want to join, just go to your settings and enable exposure notifications to receive contact tracing updates. If you have an Android phone, download the Aloha Safe Alert app on Google Play. The app has been downloaded over 187,000 times since its launch. It will notify you if you've been in contact with someone who may have contacted the virus. Tennis crowds are banned from the Australian Open, this as the city of Melbourne enters another lockdown. Angus Watson joins us from Sydney with more.
The Australian state of Victoria plunging into what the government there is calling a circuit breaker lockdown to try to get on top of the spread of the UK variant of coronavirus through the city of Melbourne. Premier Daniel Andrews on Friday saying that the variant is spreading faster through the community than COVID-19 ever has, and that this variant is a very different virus from the one which forced Melbourne into a 111-day lockdown in 2020 to try to stop the spread there. Victoria had gotten to the stage where it was routinely getting no new cases of COVID-19 every day, but since Monday we've had 13 cases of this variant creeping in through the hotel hotel quarantine system. That's where incoming travellers into Australia are forced to spend 14 days on arrival into the country. Now, the government there in Victoria isn't sure just how far the variant has spread into the community. At the moment, Melbourne's hosting the Australian Open tennis tournament. That will still go ahead, but players will be forced into a biosecurity bubble, which means no more crowds at the tennis until at least Thursday. Angus Watson in Sydney, Australia.
The first batch of COVID-19 vaccines arrived in Japan today. The frozen shipment, believed to contain about 370,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccines, arrived from Belgium. Officials are expected to give the green light on Sunday, paving the way for the vaccines to be distributed to facilities that will administer them. Japan's health minister says they plan to begin inoculations, starting with medical workers.
A local pharmacy is playing a key role in vaccinating the state. So if you want to read more about this, just scan the QR code in the corner of your screen during this story. Meanwhile, Casey Lund explains how you can sign up to get those shots at Long's.
This is a really important day because, as we heard from Lieutenant Governor Josh Green, what Hawaii really needs to do is work more to get the vaccine into the community where folks live, especially our kupuna, so it's a little bit more convenient. We're here at the Manoa Longs, and I want to show you the first check-in station, the greeting station, at the front of the store. When you are an hour out from your appointment, you'll get a notification. You'll be able to come to a Longs, check in there. There's another queuing area here where you give some information, sanitize your hands. Everything's set up for social distancing within the store to keep everyone safe. And then you come down here closer to the pharmacy where there are 2 vaccination stations, and Scott Sutton, who's the regional director for CVS Longs here in Hawaii. Scott, I just want to ask you a little bit about the process online. Right now, and earlier this morning when we checked, it said check back later because appointments have gone so quickly. Throughout the morning, that changed. There were appointments available. But what can people expect when they log on to that web portal to get an appointment?
Yeah, and my advice is to continue to go onto the website and to the app, the CVS app. When you do get onto the app and you see those appointments available, it'll ask you some screening questions, who you are, date of birth, health questions, as well as insurance information to get you all set to go and able to come back into our store to get the vaccine.
And then can we talk a little bit about the doses that you guys are kind of allotted right now? I know that you're hoping that that gets ramped up as more become available. Give me a rough number figure there, and then the difference between whether or not you can expect the Pfizer or Moderna.
Yeah, we are expecting the Moderna vaccine, as the state has dictated and chosen that vaccine for us. We are receiving about 4,400 doses each week. Now that could obviously change and differ when the federal government and state releases more vaccine. But we'll be ready to go to open up those appointments when needed and open it up for our community.
Very good. And when folks do come here to get their vaccine, it is recommended that they stay. So if the people that have gotten their vaccine already at the Pier 2, those mass vaccination centers, there is an observation period that's recommended in case you have any adverse effects. But your staff's completely prepared to handle that, correct?
Absolutely. We have observation areas within the store itself with social distancing and safety and health in mind. We really recommend you stay for those 15 minutes to make sure that everything is good and you're healthy and ready to go.
Very good. Scott Sutton with us today. Thank you so much. Again, CVS.com is where you want to go to continue to check for locations in your area and appointments in your area. There are offered here, of course, on Oahu, as well as Kauai, the Big Island, and Maui. But the exact store locations will vary as those appointments become available. Again, CVS.com is where you want to go for all that information. Reporting in Manoa, I'm Casey Lund. Now back to you.
Thank you, Case. Let's see what the internet is talking about. We're getting our first look at former First Lady Michelle Obama's new show on Netflix, Waffles and Mochi. Now, Netflix released a trailer just recently. The kid-friendly show follows 2 puppets named Waffles and Mochi. They travel the world with a dream of becoming chefs. Now, Waffles and Mochi learn about food in places like Japan, Italy with the help of Mrs. Obama, and celebrities like Jack Black and Mandy Moore. Waffles and Mochi is available on Netflix starting March 16th.
2 things. It makes me think, where did those names come from? How did she come up with them?
I know.
Also, second thing, it makes me hungry for mochi pancakes or mochi waffles.
Mochi waffles,
Yeah,
right, I know.
right.
Maybe it's like a nod kind of
Maybe,
to,
that's what I was thinking.
Hawaii?
She definitely is probably eating that for breakfast here many times on their vacation.
It's very
right?
cool. I'm excited
More
to see it.
More food news,
Yep.
please.
So if you're a fellow cheese lover, listen up, because Tillamook is offering this monster what it calls the Mother Loaf. in a limited supply beginning tomorrow morning. It's a 40-pound block of sharp yellow cheddar cheese, and it costs $112. Now, Tillamook says all of its cheddar products begin as a 40-pound block, which is aged anywhere from 2 months to a whole decade. Now, the offering marks the company's 112th birthday, as well as National Cheddar Day on Saturday.
Okay.
40-pound block of cheese.
I take it. All right, guys, let's take you live outside to New Orleans. Look at this.
Wow, Dad.
Yeah, any other time, this time of year, it would be Mardi Gras weekend. And there are some people, we can see them lining up. There are some festivities in the corner of our screen there. I see some beads, some hats. But see what's in the upper right corner? Police. And they are promising to crack down on the crowds this year. You might remember last year, a lot of people really accused Mardi Gras celebrations to being a super spreader event. So health officials just want to keep reminding you, but the safest way to celebrate is virtually or at home with those you live with.
Have you seen the pictures of like the homes in New Orleans? They're all decorated and like jazzy.
Oh,
you know,
still getting in the festive spirit. Sure. And there's some great food you can still take part in too, right?
That's
with Mardi
right.
Gras. So,
Always.
Always. More celebrations happening this weekend for sure, though.
Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. So we're bidding farewell to the year of the rat, and we're saying hello to the year of the ox. Experts say the ox is a hard-working zodiac sign, which signifies movement. So they say hopefully it means this year will be less static than last year. Let's hope so. So of course, COVID is impacting the Lunar New Year celebrations around the world. Here's Ian Lee with more.
Chinese New Year is a time for elaborate displays of fun and festivities. Typically, the holiday rush looks like this. But this year, COVID is keeping crowds away. Many families are staying put, watching celebrations from their couches and dining virtually with loved ones. Others ate locally. Hu Shui says his wish for the year is that the pandemic can be brought under control. It's the year of the ox, a strong, reliable animal, but also stubborn, which seems appropriate as the pandemic persistently holds on. And to prevent the virus from spreading, China has rolled out restrictions, requiring people traveling to their homes in the countryside to quarantine for 2 weeks and pay for their own COVID tests. Beijing is handing out coupons and free cell data as an incentive to stay home. Some cities are giving out cash and pay-to-stay programs. And some see another perk without all the holiday hubbub.
I think it's nice. It's very peaceful.
With the virus mostly under control, authorities hope it stays that way. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Well, as a longtime Chinatown resident, this year is so different. And you know, in years recently, they've had budget problems and really talking about cutting back the celebration. And then this year, even more with the pandemic. I can't wait till next year, and I hope everyone remains safe out there and still gets to have a little bit of fun. But definitely no lion dancers on the streets.
I know, because that's such you give money to the lions. It's a lot of touching.
It's one of the most colorful events in the neighborhood, and I miss it.
Me too. More good news, you guys. So the the pandemic is having an impact on magazines, but in a good way. You may have noticed more special edition magazines with more in-depth content like stories, interviews, and archival photographs, while industry leaders are calling them bookazines. Publishers say bookazines helped its newsstand revenue grow by nearly $3 million in the past quarter compared to the previous year, and media businesses are also joining in on the trend, like the Los Angeles Times, which produced 2 bookazines last year. The LA Times now plans to publish up to 6 editions this year.
One thing I'll say about them, interesting but pricey.
Yeah.
They're a little more expensive. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this TGIF Aloha Friday.
Holla.
As you saw, a lot of news we're following today. Get updated with Ashley at First at 4 on KHNL.